If I could choose one category of exercises that is absolutely critical in restoring arm movement after a stroke or a neurologic injury, it would be arm weight bearing. Not necessarily because it's a strengthening exercise, but because it solves 4 very, very common problems that result after you have damage or a lesion to some area of your brain that affects movement in your arm. So in today's video, we're going to go over what I mean when I say upper extremity weight bearing or arm weight bearing, what these 4 problems are that are the most common after a neurologic injury that affect the recovery process when it comes to restoring arm movement, and you will leave this video with more clarity as to what is causing the problems in your arm, and hopefully have ideas in your head of what activities maybe that you've neglected or put on the back burner that your physical therapist gave you early on in your recovery. Maybe you'll pull those handouts back out and start reincorporating them into your recovery routine to help you get to that next level in your arm recovery. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tara. I'm a neurologic physical therapist with over 20 years of experience helping people restore their mobility and their independence after a neurologic injury. And my passion for this channel and my goal for all of you is that I can give you as many tools as possible to help you take full ownership of your recovery and make real progress in your mobility limitations. And all that said, today we're going to talk about upper extremity or arm weight bearing. So what do I mean by arm weight bearing? Really just mean a load goes into the arm bone, the humerus bone, the upper bone, into the shoulder, and we do this by using our body weight, weight bearing. The beauty of weight bearing exercises is that they can be done on an extended arm if you're a little bit higher level, and they can be done through your elbow if you're in the earlier stages of recovery or you have limited arm movement. Or maybe you have a lot of tone or spasticity and you can't get your arm all the way straight. No problem, you could just do weight-bearing activities through your elbow. So that's the beauty. You can do arm weight-bearing exercises regardless of where you're at in the recovery process. But now let's go over those 4 major problems that hold people back in their arm recovery and how weight-bearing solves for that. And the first problem that occurs after damage to your brain or your spinal cord that affects the movement in your arm is loss of sensation, meaning that your brain just isn't getting a whole lot of information from your arm. Some of you describe this as feeling disconnected from your arm. Some people, if you know some of the terminology, you lose proprioceptive awareness. What does this look like? Maybe you're sometimes sitting on your hand or your arm is twisted and stuck behind you and you don't know it, and it requires someone else pointing it out to you for you to be able to get your arm out of that position. And for some of you, it just feels distant, like you know it's there, but you don't really know where it's at, or you feel like you try really hard to move it and there's just no connection there. That would all indicate that you have some loss of sensory awareness. The other critical component that isn't directly related to the sensory strip in the brain, but is a close cousin, is our brain has a map of our entire body. And sometimes after a stroke or damage to your brain, if it's in a specific area, you will lose a component of that map, primarily the part that controls the arm, meaning that your brain just doesn't really have like a representation of the shoulder joint, the elbow joint, the hand joint. So when you give it that motor command, it doesn't know what to do with that information. Before Google Maps, back in the old days when you had to take out that multi-fold, huge piece of paper map if you were going to go travel anywhere, imagine if you didn't have those and you wanted to get from Florida to New York. That's basically what's happening in your brain. Like maybe the motor strip of your brain wasn't directly impacted, it didn't take the major blow from your neurologic injury, but maybe you're missing a component of this map. So your brain doesn't know what to do with that command that you've just tried to send down to your arm. Weight bearing approximates the joint, meaning it kind of like pushes it, taps it into the shoulder joint a little bit, the arm bone, and that can help to restore that map that I just talked about, but also just give your brain more information that yes, there is an arm over here, and that connection alone is absolutely essential, I would say, even before you can start working on a lot of the motor coordination activities. So a brain that feels disconnected from that arm, weight bearing, reconnects that brain with the arm. Now, problem number 2 that occurs after a neurologic injury is lack of dynamic stability. And I'm going to throw out a big term here, but I promise I'm going to make it super easy to understand. Lack of what we call glenohumeral rhythm. This is the glenoid fossa. This is what we call the humerus bone. And lack of scapulothoracic humeral rhythm. All of those terms in this context, for this instance, yes, the differentiation between those terms matter, but basically I'm lumping them all together. You lose the rhythm of the shoulder blade bone and the arm bone moving in synergy together, which is absolutely essential for arm movement. So let's first talk about that first term I mentioned, which is loss of dynamic stability. So it's important to understand we have what we call rotator cuff muscles. Rotator cuff muscles hold that arm bone kind of in the socket, hold this humerus bone in the socket. Now, many of you are familiar with this term. You've probably had a friend or a family member have maybe surgery on a rotator cuff muscle. The rotator cuff muscles attach to the shoulder blade and to the thorax or the ribs. Now, that's the important part when it comes to this rhythm. But first, let's just talk about the role of the shoulder blade muscles. They basically hold that arm bone in the socket, but as the arm bone changes, it's just physics. The length of those rotator cuff muscles also needs to change in order to maintain this ball right in the center of that socket. So they're kind of like guy wires, and they're kind of adjusting their length throughout that motion. That's what gives our shoulder dynamic stability. Stability as it moves through a motion. When you have damage to your brain that affects a neural network that goes to the arm, any combination of shoulder muscles can kind of be taken offline. And yes, that does happen after a neurologic injury. So one benefit of this upper extremity arm weight bearing is that you can load the arm in different positions and kind of wake up some of those muscles. But what you can also do is you can load the arm in a way that is kind of creates some instability. So let's say you're on your side and you have a little bit of weight down through the elbow. Well, now some protective mechanisms kick in, right? Because if you're just laying on your side and you don't want to fall forward or back, roll onto your back, some of those safety mechanisms will potentially kick in and kind of trigger some of those muscles to hold you on your side. So in the orthopedic world, we would call this like a shoulder stabilization exercise. And yes, that is also in the neuro world, we would call that kind of like a weight bearing exercise that can absolutely help to solve for this problem of this loss of dynamic stability. And then that scapulohumeral rhythm, your shoulder blade really needs to be stabilized at different motions. Remember, I said those rotator cuff muscles attach to this. So I've talked about this in other videos, but a good visual is if you were standing on a dock and you were holding a rope that was attached to a boat. Hear me out, just visualize this. Are you going to have better control at moving that boat in the water if you're standing on a floating dock or if you're standing on solid ground? You'd have better ability to kind of pull on that rope and move that boat if you were standing on solid ground versus a moving surface that's on the water. That's kind of what a weight-bearing activity does, is it helps to wake up some of the muscles that stabilize that shoulder blade to give you to allow those rotator cuff muscles to give that nice little tug as you're moving through that motion. So improves scapulohumeral rhythm, but also improves dynamic stability. Two things that can occur after a neurologic injury. And then problem number 3 that occurs after a neurologic injury are abnormal synergy patterns. Now, many of you have heard me talk about this a lot on this channel, but we have something called a flexor synergy pattern and an extensor synergy pattern. An extensor synergy pattern is when you want to straighten your elbow out, or you want to do anything with your arm in general, your elbow will lock out, your arm will internally rotate, and it kind of feels like it's glued to your side. That's a classic extensor synergy pattern. A flexor synergy pattern after a stroke or a brain injury gets a little bit confused, a little bit more nuanced. There is no like direct position that I can give you because spasticity plays a role, and depending on your spasticity, the arm will do crazy things. But a true flexor synergy is the arm, when you want to bend your elbow or move your shoulder at all, the arm will externally rotate and you'll kind of hike your shoulder up. Now, I know some of you, your arm is internally rotated. That has a lot more to do with spasticity, but the point is that anytime you go to move your arm, all those joints move together. The beauty of a weight-bearing activity is that you have 2 points of contact. You have your arm, you have the weight on your arm, and then you have whatever you're weight-bearing on, so it can hold that shoulder in a specific motion and kind of what we say break up that abnormal synergy pattern and help you to get to that next stage in recovery, which is coordinated movement. And then problem number 4, that is extremely common, and this will resonate with a lot of you guys, is that you feel like you can do a movement either laying on your back or in some position, but then when you go to a different position, you just can't do it. So for example, a lot of people tell me I can move my arm laying on my back, but as soon as I sit up, I can't move it at all. The beauty of weight-bearing activities is you can put your arm in that position, load the arm, which does everything that we talked about in the first 3 problems of activating some of those muscles, holding the arm in that position. But it's a great in-between exercise if you're someone that's trying to go from laying down to sitting up, because you have this point of contact on your elbow or on your extended arm. You can hold that arm in specific positions based on where you feel that weakness is occurring when you actually try and incorporate arm reaching into a functional movement. Now, all of this is dependent on what position you do those weight-bearing activities in, and I didn't want this video to be too long, so I'm making a completely separate video where I'm just going to go into the exercises or the different positions that you can do weight-bearing in and give you the rationale for that. So if you're not subscribed and you don't have notifications turned on, you definitely want to subscribe and have your notifications turned on, because you want to get notified when I drop that video. But that's going to be a separate video, so definitely stay tuned for that. But hopefully in this video you have more clarity on why your physical therapist maybe early on in your recovery was doing a lot of weight-bearing activities with you, and maybe it'll help you to know which exercises are best for you at this stage in your recovery. But if this video really resonated with you and you feel like you're just kind of floundering between your physical therapy sessions, it's really because the system isn't really designed to give your therapist enough time to kind of explain all of these things to you and teach you how to be able to take full ownership of your recovery, learning how to set realistic goals, how to break down movements so that they're easier for your brain and your body to digest, so you can successfully execute some of these movements as you're restoring your recovery or restoring your mobility. But all of these components are the components that are included in our Gold membership program. This Gold membership program was specifically designed to fill in some of those gaps that are missing from kind of traditional physical therapy. And believe it or not, going to physical therapy and just being given a list of exercises is great in the early stages, but the things that our members are reporting that is happening in their recovery now that they kind of aren't being given the fish, but they're learning how to fish, they're restoring their arm movement on their own because they know how to break down a movement, they know how to set the next realistic goal, and They know how to execute and they feel confident that they can execute their rehab plan. And if that's something that resonates with you or something that you feel would really help you get to that next level in your recovery, you can visit rehab-hq.com to learn about all the perks of our recovery program or to schedule a discovery call to talk to someone in person about the barriers that you're struggling with in your recovery, and they can help you decide whether or not our program is right for you. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys found this video helpful. I enjoyed spending time with you all today, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.